back for the deep dive. Today we're plugging in, powering up, and honestly trying to figure out how to get a light bulb to talk to the internet.
Without burning the house down, hopefully.
Right, exactly. A very noble goal.
Yeah.
And it's one that's becoming incredibly relevant for businesses everywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're talking about the Internet of Things today, IoT. But we are not just doing the whole high-level concept thing. We are looking at a very specific roadmap for how you actually learn it.
Yeah, we have a stack of documents here from Favoriot, SDN, BHD.
And for those of you who might not know the space, Favoriot is a massive deal in the region. They won Best IoT Startup in 2018 and 2019.
Right.
And they're led by Dr. Mazlan Abbas, who is a really well-known IoT evangelist.
He is, and looking through their training materials, you really see their mission is quite specific. They call themselves a journey guide.
A journey guide.
Yeah, they want to help businesses IoTize their operations.
IoT-size. I actually really like that. It's catchy.
It is, but it also really implies a process, right? Because it's not just about going out and buying a smart plug.
No, it's a total transformation.
Exactly.
So today we are going to unpack their entire training ecosystem. We want to look at how they take you from, having a stray sensor and a soldering iron all the way to having a fully scalable, secure business solution.
Because that gap, that huge space between a stray sensor and a scalable solution is where most people completely fail.
Oh, I have absolutely been there. I've bought the microcontrollers, stared blankly at the code, and then just shoved the whole thing into a drawer.
Which is exactly why structured training is so vital. It stops you from doing that.
Right. So we're going to cover their fundamentals course, the advanced tracks, and even the business side for the executives who don't want to touch any wires, but really need to understand the strategy.
But before we get into the baud rates and the breadboards, let's zoom out a little bit, because the materials we have include this really fascinating history lesson on IoT.
Oh yeah, the history part is great. I actually have to ask, did you know what the first internet-connected device was? Because it wasn't a supercomputer or some military satellite.
It wasn't. It's actually one of my favorite pieces of tech trivia. It was a Coca-Cola machine.
A vending machine. Carnegie Mellon University in 1982.
That's right. They modified it so they could check the inventory from their desks. And crucially, they wanted to see if the drinks were cold before walking all the way down the hall.
Which is just the most relatable motivation for invention I've ever heard.
Laziness is truly the mother of innovation.
It really is.
And then, of course, you have the Trojan Room coffee pot at Cambridge in 1994.
Oh, right, where they set up a camera just to see how much coffee was left in the pot.
Vital information.
Very vital.
But the larger point here is that IoT started as a way to solve these very specific, highly localized inefficiencies. Today, the stakes are obviously much higher.
Right, it's about industrial efficiency, real-time analytics, staying ahead of your competition.
And that's exactly what Favoriot's training focuses on. It's about moving from, wouldn't it be cool if, to, we need to deploy this product swiftly.
Swiftly being the key word there. The documents heavily emphasize reducing time to market. So let's dive into their core offering, the flagship course.
Okay.
It's called IoT Fundamentals with Favoriot Platform.
So this is a 2-day course, and it's really worth noting for the professionals listening, it carries MBOT 21 CPD hours.
Okay, so this is a highly recognized professional certification.
Yes, it's not just a casual workshop.
And who's the target audience here? Is this strictly for supercoders?
Not necessarily. It's targeted at IoT enthusiasts, developers, engineers, really anyone who wants to understand the absolute nuts and bolts of the technology.
And nuts and bolts is literal here. This isn't just a theory class.
Not at all. Looking at the curriculum, day one plunges you right into the hardware. You're getting hands-on immediately.
Yeah, they use the Arduino IDE and something called the Hibiscus Sense, or sometimes they use the ESP32 development kits.
Right. The ESP32 is basically a workhorse in the IoT world. It's a low-cost, low-power system on a chip. It's got integrated Wi-Fi and dual-mode Bluetooth.
So if you're going to build something, that's almost always where you start.
Exactly.
But here's the part that gave me serious flashbacks to my failed hobbyist days.
Yeah.
The training covers the exact stuff that usually makes people quit.
You're talking about the drivers?
The drivers. The absolute bane of my existence. You plug the board in and just nothing happens. The computer refuses to see it.
Ah, yes. The CP210X drivers.
Yes.
And that right there is why a structured course like this is so valuable. They actually walk you through downloading the specific CP210X drivers, extracting the zip file, running the installer.
It sounds so mundane when you say it out loud.
It does, but if you don't get that specific step right, you cannot talk to the board.
You're dead in the water.
Completely dead in the water. And they also get deep into the COM ports.
Right, selecting the right port, like COM-M14 or COM-3 or whatever random number your machine decides to assign it.
And the baud rate?
Like 9600 or 113,200?
Exactly. The baud rate is just the speed of communication. If your computer is listening at one speed and the device is talking at another, you're just going to get total gibberish on your screen.
It's so frustrating when that happens.
It is. So the training standardizes all of this. They show you exactly how to set up the environment so you actually get that very first success message on the serial monitor.
Oh man, that aha moment.
It really is an incredible feeling. When you write a simple sketch, which is what they call Arduino programs, sketches, to make an LED blink or to read a sensor.
It feels like magic.
It does. But the real magic and the main focus of Favoriot is what happens next.
Right, getting the data off the physical board.
Precisely. Sending it out to the cloud. Because if you just have a sensor reading the temperature in an empty room, that isn't IoT. That's just a thermometer.
Right.
It only becomes IoT when that data goes up to the Favoriot platform.
Let's talk about that platform because the training spends a significant amount of time focusing on the hierarchy.
Yes, the organizational structure.
Now, I have to be honest, when I organize my computer files, I just dump literally everything onto my desktop. But apparently, you cannot do that with an IoT deployment.
You definitely cannot do that. Favoriot teaches a very, very specific structure. It goes projects, applications, groups, and then devices.
Okay, why so many layers? That seems complicated.
It's all about scalability and security. Let's imagine you're a city manager.
Right.
You have a top-level smart city project. Inside that project, you have an application for streetlights and maybe another one for waste management.
Makes sense.
Then, inside the streetlights application, you have groups organized by specific neighborhoods. And finally, under those groups, you have the specific device, the actual light post itself.
Okay, when you lay it out like that, it makes total sense.
Because if you don't have that strict hierarchy, managing thousands of devices becomes an absolute nightmare. You wouldn't even know which light bulb was out in which neighborhood.
Right, you just have a massive list of broken lights.
Exactly. So the training drills the structure into you early on so that when you build, you're building for scale right from day one.
And once the data is actually flowing into that hierarchy, the platform lets you visualize it. They have this dashboard feature.
Visuals are key in IoT. The course teaches you to create widgets, graphs, gauges.
Because looking at raw data, just an endless stream of numbers, is impossible for a human to interpret quickly.
Exactly. But a gauge on a dashboard turning bright red, that's instantly actionable.
And they take it a step further with setting rules and alerts, right?
Yes. They cover how to integrate the platform with third-party tools like Telegram bots.
Oh, that's cool.
So if that gauge turns red, let's say the temperature in a critical server room spikes, you get a text message on your phone immediately. That is the actual operational value of IoT.
Now, to get that data from the device to the platform, they have to teach protocols.
Right.
And this is where the materials look a bit like alphabet soup. You've got HTTP, MQTT, CoAP. Can you decode those for us?
Sure. So HTTP is what the regular web uses. It's great, it's reliable, but it can be a bit heavy for tiny devices.
Okay.
MQTT and CoAP are lightweight protocols. They're specifically designed for these tiny constrained devices that might just be running on battery power.
Oh, I see.
The training teaches you the differences and when to use which one. And importantly, they use software tools like Postman and MQTTX to teach this.
I saw that in the notes. They actually use these software tools to simulate the data transmission before anyone even touches the physical hardware.
Which is a total pro move. You test your connection with software first. If Postman can successfully send fake data to the Favoriot platform, you know for a fact the cloud side is working perfectly.
Right.
Then later on, if your actual hardware fails to connect, you immediately know the problem is with your hardware code, not the cloud. It teaches you diagnostic thinking.
It's basically troubleshooting 101 built right into the curriculum.
Exactly.
So that's the fundamentals course. You walk in knowing absolutely nothing, and you walk out with a blinking board that's talking to a Telegram bot.
Pretty much.
But Favoriot offers a lot more than just that baseline. They have these specialized tracks.
They do. They recognize that IoT is just too broad of a term these days. You really need specialists. So they created a data scientist track, for instance.
Which I assume focuses heavily on what you actually do with all that data once you've collected it.
Right. It's all about advanced analytics and engineering massive data pipelines, but they also have a security track.
IoT security professional.
Yeah,
That title sounds incredibly intimidating.
and it should be. IoT devices are notorious for being easy entry points for hackers.
Right, someone hacks your smart fridge and suddenly they're in your email.
Exactly. So this track covers privacy risks and how to actually secure your IoT project end to end so your smart toaster doesn't take down your entire corporate network.
And then there's the fun one, the robotics track.
Ah, the RoboPico kit. This one is fascinating because they completely switch up the hardware here. They use the Raspberry Pi Pico W.
Wait, I thought Raspberry Pi was a full computer?
The standard Raspberry Pi is a computer, but the Pico is a microcontroller, very similar to the Arduino. But the key difference is it runs Python.
Oh,
Specifically, it runs CircuitPython or MicroPython, and they teach it using the Thonny IDE.
Python just seems so much friendlier and more readable than C++ No, which is what the Arduino uses.
It is for a lot of people. It lowers the barrier to entry. And in this robotics track, they have you integrating sensors like air quality or temperature with actual wheel movement.
So you're not just sensing the environment from a desk, your device is physically moving through it.
Right, it's mobile IoT.
That is really cool. Now that brings us to the pro level, the 3-day advanced course. This seems to be where the big guns come out.
Yes, the Raspberry Pi 4.
Okay, now we are talking about the full computer.
We are, and the entire nature of the training shifts here. You are no longer just writing a simple sketch to a tiny chip.
Right.
You're using the Raspberry Pi imager to actually write a full operating system onto an SD card. You're opening up the terminal and typing commands like sudo apt-get update.
Oh man, the terminal. Just a black screen with green text. That is exactly when you know you're a real hacker.
It's when you know you're dealing with Linux. The advanced course teaches you how to configure that Raspberry Pi to act as a gateway.
Okay, stop there for a second. What is the fundamental difference between the device we talked about in the fundamentals course and a gateway?
Good question. In the fundamentals course, the tiny device, the ESP32, talks directly to the cloud over Wi-Fi.
Right.
But imagine an industrial setting. Maybe you have 50 tiny sensors scattered around a factory floor. They aren't powerful enough to securely talk to the cloud on their own, or maybe there's just no Wi-Fi coverage where they're placed.
That makes sense.
So instead, those 50 sensors talk locally to a gateway using low-power Bluetooth or LoRa. And then the gateway, which is our powerful Raspberry Pi, aggregates all that data and talks to the cloud.
It's basically the middle manager that actually does all the heavy lifting.
Exactly. It aggregates and processes the data locally. And the software tool they teach for this gateway logic is called Node-RED.
Node-RED. I've definitely heard of that. It's a highly visual tool, isn't it?
Very visual. It's a flow-based editor. You literally drag and drop blocks onto the screen.
So no typing lines of code.
Very little. You might have a block that says input from Bluetooth, and you draw a physical line connecting it to a block that says process data, and draw another line to output to Favoriot platform.
Wow.
It allows you to build incredibly complex logic flows without writing thousands of lines of complicated code.
So the workflow is the data flows from the tiny device locally to the gateway through the logic of Node-RED and then finally up to the Favoriot platform.
Yes.
That sounds like a much, much more robust architecture.
It is. It's much closer to what you would see in a real-world factory or a massive smart building deployment.
Okay, so we've covered the tinkerers, the deep dive coders, the security pros, and the robotics geeks. But what about the person who's actually signing the checks? The person who has to approve the budget for all these Raspberry Pis?
That is exactly where the IoT for Business Professionals track comes in. It's a one-day course, and absolutely no soldering irons are allowed.
Thank goodness for that.
This is built strictly for executives and managers, and the focus shifts entirely away from the technology itself. They teach something called the 7 M's of business benefits.
The MEMS.
Yes, and they heavily utilize the IoT business model, Canvas.
So what is the actual goal there? Surely it's not to teach a CEO how to code in Python.
No, not at all. The goal is to completely shift their mindset from being technology-centric to being outcome-based.
Can you explain the difference for us?
Sure. A technology-centric view sounds like this. We have this really cool sensor that detects vibration on a motor.
Okay, standard feature pitch.
Right. But an outcome-based view sounds like this. We offer our clients a guaranteed uptime service because we know exactly when their machine will break before it actually happens.
Oh, wow. Right. You're selling the reliability and the peace of mind. You're not selling the sensor.
Exactly. The executive training helps leaders spot those specific opportunities. It teaches them how to capitalize on entirely new revenue streams that IoT opens up.
It ensures that the technology is actually serving the business strategy, not just acting as an expensive toy for the engineering department.
Precisely. It answers the fundamental question, why are we doing this in the first place?
And more importantly, how do we actually make money from this?
Which is always the most important question for the executive suite.
Always. So if we look at this entire ecosystem that Favoriot has built, from the 2-day hardware fundamentals all the way to the business masterclass, it really seems like their underlying goal is to professionalize the entire industry.
Professionalize is exactly the right word. Because IoT has basically been the Wild West for a very long time.
Oh, for sure.
It's been a lot of people just hacking things together in their garages, deploying incredibly insecure devices, creating massive data silos that don't talk to each other.
Just a mess.
A huge mess. Favoriot is stepping in and saying, look, here is a standard. Here is a proper hierarchy. And here is a secure, scalable way to actually do this.
And they are providing the exact platform to back all of that up. It's not just here's how to code abstractly, it's here's how to code specifically for our robust platform.
Which is very smart from a business perspective for them, obviously.
Oh, definitely.
But it's also incredibly helpful for the learner.
Yeah.
Because learning these complex concepts in a vacuum is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, you need guardrails.
Exactly. Learning with a specific, tangible tool set, like the Favoriot platform, their dashboard, their APIs, it gives you a highly concrete skill set that you can turn around and apply at your job immediately.
It basically turns chaotic, frustrating experimentation into a disciplined, repeatable skill.
Precisely. Because whether you are a hobbyist seeing that success message on your serial monitor for the very first time, or you're a CTO designing a massive citywide deployment on a whiteboard, the underlying principles of structure, protocol, and connectivity are exactly the same.
It really bridges that enormous gap we talked about at the very beginning of the show.
It really does. It validates the idea that IoT isn't just a playground for the massive multi-billion-dollar tech giants.
Right.
A local startup, a mid-sized factory manager, or even just a highly motivated individual can follow this roadmap and build a smart solution that actually works securely.
So we have unpacked the entire Favoriot training ecosystem today. We've gone all the way from the history of a connected Coke machine in 1982 to the future of outcome-based business models.
It is a lot of information to take in.
It is a lot, but as you can see, the journey they lay out is very clear.
It is. Now, I want to leave all of you listening with a thought to chew on. We joked earlier about the Cambridge coffee pot talking to the internet.
The vital coffee metrics.
Yes, right. But seriously, think about your own life or your own business.
Yeah.
If you could seamlessly connect any two physical things that currently do not talk to each other, what would they be?
That is a great question.
And more importantly, what specific real-world problem would that connection actually solve for you? Because if you can answer that question and then you go take this training, you might actually be able to build that exact solution yourself.
And that is a pretty empowering thought. That's it for this deep dive. Go forth, explore your own IoT journey, and maybe check out Favoriot if you decide you need a trusted guide along the way.
Thanks for listening.